Stephen A. You know, this is a roster he helped assemble. It's on him. No, it's not. How you a professional athlete get caught up in your feelings and it's somebody else's fault? How is that possible? I mean, you bunch of babies, grow the hell up. LeBron James is absolutely right. He is not wrong. He is not wrong. Oh, well, why does he have to call him out? Well, what else is he supposed to do? Sit idly by and say nothing while you wet the bed? Acting like you wearing diapers? Grow the hell up and play. Lonzo Ball being out. I ain't nothing about Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's got promise. Lonzo Ball is not a scrub. I see that. I respect it. I've got no problem with it. But I don't want to hear a damn thing about Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's the number 2 overall pick who is perfectly content in dribbling the ball past half court, passing it off, and go hiding into a corner. That is a fact. I've been crying about Lonzo Ball's lack of aggression forever. How do you have a daddy like his with the mouth that man has and you demure and passive? How is that possible? Isn't there something to be said for being a brethren, a seed of someone? I mean, that's like my daughter being quiet. How's that possible? I can't see that. It's not going to happen. So you got to get up and play. If you're the Lakers, you got to understand and embrace this reality and go from there. And that's not what they're doing, which is why I have no problem with LeBron James calling out his teammates. He didn't mention them by names, but you know who the hell he's talking about. You see what's happening on the court. And you also know that Luke Walton's days are numbered. And I'm not happy about that. I don't want Luke Walton's days to be numbered. I want Luke Walton to survive and thrive. I like Luke Walton a lot. I love his daddy, Bill Walton. Good man. And I want Luke Walton to be a guy that's coaching in L.A. for years and years to come. But the reality of the situation is when you look at the assistant staff that he has assembled, when you look at some of the errors that are taking place before our very eyes, and the fact that he's not Magic Johnson's hire, we all know what time it is. Luke Walton's about to lose his job. Luke Walton's about to lose the privilege of being the head coach for the Los Angeles Lakers. There's no way around it. And for those of you out there wondering who Magic wants, let me tell you something right now. Ty Lue is somebody that LeBron James and the crew would not mind having. Doc Rivers, assuming he decides to leave the Clippers, which he has the right to do, by the way, he would be a prime candidate as well. But we all know who Magic Johnson wants, in case y'all don't know. I'll put it out there because it's never going to happen and he knows it. So it's not it's not breaking news or anything like that. He might admit it, he might not. Let me tell you who Magic would love to have as his head coach. Mike Krzyzewski. Like almost anybody else would want. Why do you think Mike Krzyzewski coached Team USA basketball for 3 consecutive Olympics? Because that's who Jerry Colangelo and those guys wanted. Why? Because almost any player he wanted would play for him. From LeBron James to Kobe Bryant and D. Wade on down. Everybody would play for Mike Krzyzewski. And because that's the reality, of course, that's somebody that Magic Johnson would want. He's not going to get him, though. Can't see you, Coach K, leaving Duke. But I just wanted to put that to bed. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Before we go to break, let me revisit the story about Mr. Robert Kraft, owner for the New England Patriots. We talked about this on Friday. I was on the air, essentially of the mindset that 2 consenting adults, probably got caught doing something that they should not have been doing in a business like a massage parlor, whatever the case may be, unaware of the fact that it was a sex trafficking sting that was taking place before our very eyes. First of all, first things first, don't look at my producers, look at me. I was on television, and then after that, I had a meeting. And then after that, I hustled on the air and had notes in front of me that I didn't read. My responsibility, not my producers. That's number one. Number two, I'm very concerned for Mr. Kraft. Sex trafficking is a very, very serious thing. Now, he has not been accused of that. It's soliciting prostitution. That's the misdemeanor charge levied against him. In all likelihood, it wouldn't involve jail time, just a stiff fine. And I guess it wouldn't even be qualified as stiff since we're talking about a man worth over $6.6 billion. But in the end, what it comes down to is that when you hear the word sex trafficking, you think about young men and young women that are essentially enslaved, forced to do some things they'd never want to do. Human trafficking is a huge, huge deal in the United States of America and probably the world. Mr. Kraft himself has been charitable in donating funds to causes such as that to fight some of the very, very things that he's now at least indirectly associated with. And there are those with the mindset that, you know what, he doesn't deserve a pass. Because even with the sex act itself, that according to the police, they have him on videotape engaging in. They say that people like that do such things, you're an enabler. You're a part of the problem. You're not a part of the solution. My response is, A, that would be assuming that he knew about the sex trafficking and these individuals were involved in it, and that B, he didn't care. Now, he, for the record, has stated that he has engaged in no illegal activity. He didn't deny being at the parlor. He didn't deny what the police said he was doing at the parlor. So I guess the only thing that you can infer from his statement is that he didn't know that the participants were involved unwillingly in sex trafficking. Either way you slice it, here's what it comes down to. An investigation will obviously be ongoing. The NFL will get involved. And the biggest punishment that Robert Kraft will receive in all of this is extreme embarrassment, some would say. Now, there are a couple of things to take into consideration. A, in 2014, Jim Irsay, the owner for the Indianapolis Colts, was fined $500,000 and suspended 6 games. Why? Because he had pled guilty to a DWI charge. So if he got a $500,000 fine and a 6-game suspension somewhere along the line, 6 games, 6 months, I think it was six months. But if he got that kind of suspension for a DWI charge, what is Robert Kraft going to get? Because it's about impugning the integrity of the shield. And it's about what Commissioner Roger Goodell in the NFL had said back then, that owners, management, etc., should be held to a higher standard than the players, although they came out with a statement this morning saying that the standard of the owners is equal to that of the players. I respectfully disagree. I think that an owner should be held to a higher standard than the players. So while they felt the need to modify their position from 2014 to come out today and talk about how it should be equal, I disagree with that. I think owners should be held to a higher standard. And that's applicable to Robert Kraft as well. And now you have a situation where if Jim Irsay got $500,000 fine in 6 months, what is Goodell going to do when it comes to Mr. Kraft? And let us also not forget that Jerry Richardson, former owner for the Carolina Panthers, was compelled to sell the Panthers when he was involved in a sexual misconduct scandal. Let's not forget that as well. So problems could be far and wide. We don't know what's going to happen. But we'll find out. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Like I said, you're listening live to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. We'll continue to discuss this and some more things, and I'll take your phone calls as well. I'm in the house. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people!
For around-the-clock access to the man?
I'm Stephen A.
You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Stephen A. Smith and on Facebook at Stephen A. We're